After the show, check out the MRI Man Etsy store. Get yourself some stickers like the Just Scan It sticker or the Oh My God sticker because we know you're scanning like crazy. MRI is freezing, so get yourself an MRI Man hoodie, look fresh, and stay warm at the same time.
The Go MRI Man. Spread the knowledge. Motivate the people.
All right, what's up? It's Kwame, aka MRI Man. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the MRI Man Podcast. I'm happy to be back. And today I have a very special guest. It's Jason Hernandez, aka your X-ray tech from the YXT Podcast. He's also, an instructor. He has his own clothing line. Very dope. But yeah, man, what's up, Jason? Let me get you on. And welcome again, man. Welcome to the show. I'm glad to have you back, and you're one of the OGs. But yeah, man, introduce yourself a little bit for people that don't know you.
Hey, Kwame. Thanks for having me again. Yeah, I always enjoy being on here. Uh, enjoy the conversations, enjoy like everything you're doing. So I appreciate the time and the opportunity. So yeah, my name is Jason. I'm a technologist slash instructor. Been in the field for over 12 years now. Love to share information, about, from the beginning of the program, during the program, afterwards, right? Working. So yeah, I'm here to answer any questions you have, any concerns, and share some experiences.
For sure. Thanks, Jason. But yeah, I've been getting a lot of the same questions. So I was like, you know what? Let's hop on here, do a podcast. A lot of people want to know what it's like to have a full-time job and go to rad tech school. They also want to know, is rad tech school for them? Is rad tech school hard? And we're going to explain that and talk about our experience, what it's like going to school for radiology, whether it be MRI, X-ray, and this should be very informative for you. So if you're interested in being an X-ray tech, MRI, anything in radiology, CT, and you're on the fence, this is the podcast for you. And make sure you listen to the end because we got some bonuses for you, man. You don't want to miss out on this. But yeah, man, let's start it off. So Jason, if you can go back when you're going to school for X-ray, what was it like for you? Were you working? Talk about that. Like, what kind of problems or issues and hills did you have to climb?
Yeah, great questions. And so I was very fortunate to find out about radiology back in the seventh grade. And before that, when I was like in elementary, I had already known that I wanted to go into healthcare. Like that was just something I wanted to do. For whatever reason, like I enjoyed helping people. And even in elementary, I was already saying I want to go into healthcare, but I don't want to be a doctor. I don't want to be a nurse. Like that's all I knew at that point. Then when it came to seventh grade, my teacher had an assignment. She gave us some careers and said, go through this list, pick one, and do some research. And on that list was radiology, right? So I got to dig into radiology for that research paper, and because it was healthcare and it wasn't a doctor, it wasn't a nurse, like I just knew it was for me, right? So I kind of just stuck to that, like this is what I want to do, and I'm gonna do whatever I have to do to get there, right? To achieve this goal that I've already set and something that I want to do. So I think that's important. Is this is a field that you gotta want, you know, and if you're somebody that likes to help people and you want to be in healthcare, like the challenges are going to be a little bit easier because it's something you really want, right? Now I know there's people that find out about the field and just take a chance at it and they're successful, great. But I think it's easier when you want it and you know what you're getting into. So that those are great questions because it's going to help you decide.
Mm-hmm.
Do I really want this or do I, should I consider something else? So that's what made it easy. So, but it wasn't easy. The path to get here was not easy. So I already knew that
Mm-hmm.
coming in. So when I did my research and said, okay, how do I become this technologist? Um, there was only a few schools available in my area, and the program for sure was going to be a 2 year program. So I already had that in my mind. Okay, 2 year program. How do I get into that program? All right. So I went into the school, and that's usually my biggest advice to those type of questions is search around, you know, find out what schools offer the program, give them a call or visit, speak with an admissions uh, advisor or speak with an instructor, right? So when I went in, they told me, okay, you need these prerequisites in order for a chance to get into this program. So I already knew, wow, I have to get accepted into this program. Like you can't just get in. They're like, no, you need a certain GPA. They're going to do an interview process. And even at that, it's not guaranteed. You know what I mean? So I already knew, okay, great, awesome. I could do it. So I took care of the prereqs, right? Some of those prereqs were pretty challenging. You have college algebra. Some were fun, like psychology, things like that. So I took care of that, right? And at the same time, I was juggling school and I was juggling everything else. I mean, work and everything else, right? Life, So, but it was all about getting into that program. So, as far as work goes, I had some good jobs. You know, I had to work, full time because I had bills and I had to take care of things. So,
Hmm.
but whatever job I had, I put attention to it and I wanted to do the best that I could. But at the same time, too, it's like this is just a stepping stone to get where I'm at, like where I want to be at. So it was never like settle with this job, even though they were great jobs. It was about like I'm using this as a stepping stone to get there. Like I don't want to lose focus on where I want to be. So you had to juggle working and studying for a chance to even get into these programs. So yeah, I was very fortunate to apply the first time and get accepted the first time, and then that's when it really began. Now it was like, all right, you're in, and now it's about yeah, that was just part of it. Now it's about getting through and coming out successful on the other end, still juggling work, you know, and life, and trying to figure out, you know, how to become a technologist. So it's probably one of the most challenging things that I've ever done in my life, especially up to that point. I've been in the game for a good while, but it was worth it. Like whatever I did to get here, in my opinion, in my experience, was worth it. And it wasn't easy. And when I look back at it, it's like, how did I do it? It was mostly just a drive of wanting it. Like when you want something, like you figure it out and you just go through it. So I'll go more into detail on some of those questions. Um,
Hmm.
but it happened, and it happens for a lot of people, you know. But the ones that put in that work, that find the balance, and so, and then the good thing is that it's rewarding at the end. So at least for me, it's been rewarding. So, uh, but yeah, it wasn't easy though. It wasn't easy. I can tell you that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel the same. I feel the same way. That's one of the most common questions. Everyone's like, "Hey, was it easy? Were the classes easy?" And my answer is always the same. It was nothing was easy, and I feel like nothing in life is ever just given to you just like that. And but if, like you said, if you have a drive and a do or die mentality, like, look, I'm gonna get this done, and I'm gonna graduate, and you're gonna sacrifice those 18 months, 2 years, whatever, and get through it. And let's face reality. Most people are gonna have to work and go to school. You know,
Yeah.
excuse me.
For sure.
But yeah, so and a lot of us have done it. Me being one of them. I did work full time, went to school, and I just found a program that worked with me. Um, for me, I went to school like every Saturday for like I don't know, it's like 6 hours, 6, 7 hours. It was a long day. And then the rest of it was online. It was just what worked for me. I couldn't go to school. I didn't want to go to school every day. It was just too hard. to work with my schedule. So, like you said, visit the campus, see your options, and believe me, man, schools are, whether vocational schools or private, a lot of those schools are trying to work with you and find a schedule that works. And then even a lot of community colleges might have some online stuff you can do. I just say online because I feel like that benefits the full-time worker because you can work at your own pace. And but I would say don't let that stop you from reaching the goal that you want to achieve, because either way, what are you going to be doing anyway? You know what I mean? Like, you're after you get off of work, what do you do? Do you just sit around and watch TV all day? Like, what are you doing with your time? You know what I mean? And maybe you do have a family, but maybe you want more for your family. And 2 years goes by quick. And I went, as soon as my kids were starting to be born, I was like starting to just having to move on things. I was a phlebotomist first, and that's an easy career to start. It's like a couple months to be a phlebotomist. And it kind of gets you, you know, you start to meet people in the field. Like, you start to meet x-ray techs and MRI techs, CT, you kind of nurses, you kind of see what everyone's doing. So if you're not too sure, you can probably do something like that, like a phlebotomist type of deal, because that'll get you a job, at an office or, at a hospital, and you really get to start to see things. And for me, studying, I was up late a lot. And at first it was weird, like, man, usually I'm just kicking it, watching TV at 11, 10, but now I'm up reading books, staying up late reading books, and it just became a routine thing. It was like, it wasn't something that I was mad about. I was like, this is the journey, at the end I was like, I'm gonna be an MRI tech, I'm gonna reach the goal. And I'll look back at it and just everyone will be proud of me, but I'll definitely be proud of myself that I, stay dedicated to something for those 2 years. And I really just pushed myself. And that's what, for me, that's what the program was all about, is me pushing myself, you know, uh, I guess almost to the limit, just mentally just staying strong and just like, hey, look, it's going to work out. I know others have done it before and I'm not the only one. And my class, we became really cool in my class. It was a small class, and there's a few other guys in there that were doing it. And there was a guy that was an EMT, and that guy was, man, he was always tired, dude. And because I think he worked late, I don't know, his shifts were crazy, but we were just all in it together. And that's what you got to think about too. You're not the only one. You're not the only one out here working full time, going to school, and it's gonna pay off, man. And then while you're doing it, don't think about time so much, because like I wouldn't think about like, oh, I got off 8 hour shift, now I'm doing this. I would just do it. I didn't think about. I didn't add all the numbers up. It's just like, I'm just gonna do this. This is my routine. Like, every day, get off work, do homework, go to sleep. Um, but yeah, Jason, like, what did you, through your program, like, what was there, like, what was the most difficult part of the program for you? Whether it can be any part of the program. Yeah, so like, talk about that. Like, what was that part where you're just like, man, I don't know, a
Yeah,
little muddy?
that's a great question. So yeah, there. I mean, money got tight, but again,
Yep.
you just figure it out, right? Um, Honestly, the hardest part was getting into the program, like the prereqs, because that's where the adjustment
Mm-hmm.
was. Like,
Mm-hmm.
knowing you need a certain GPA and trying to show that you want it, right? And so some of those prereqs were challenging. Um, college algebra was pretty challenging, and you couldn't just pass it. You had to pass with a high grade, so that way your GPA maintained. So um, and the goal was like I wanted to be a technologist, but I needed to do this first. So once I was in the program, as challenging as it was, it wasn't the most challenging part because that's what I wanted. You know what I mean? It's the other things that I had to do to get there that were like, okay, let's get
Mhm.
this done to get there. And
Mhm.
so once I was in the program, the program itself is challenging, right? Because it requires a lot of your time and it requires a lot of commitment. So I had already like set my mind to give that. Um, so and I remember at the beginning, before going to the program, the program director was like, chances of you working are you probably shouldn't, like if you can, it's better if you don't
Mm.
work,
Mhm.
um, because if you do, you might not be successful. Most people who work, it's too much for them. And so in, in the interview, I was like, yeah, of course, I'll do what I got to do. I'll figure it out where I could quit my job and just focus on. But in reality, I was like, there's no way I cannot work. Like I got to work. So I just had to figure it out. So um, and my jobs at the time were very, they understood and they were very flexible with my schedules.
Oh, nice.
So luckily I held on for a good while, right? And I've always worked and gone to school, even in high school. So I was already in that routine, working, going to
Ah,
school, doing
okay.
things. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't
Yeah.
different. And other things in between too. Like I would do sports also. So
Oh, you're right.
when I was thinking of like in high school, like how did I do it? But you did it. Like
Wow.
you know what I
You
mean? Like
did. You
you
didn't even
just did
think
it.
about it. You just do it.
You just do it. So in college it was like
Wow.
let's do it again. And let me do it for a little bit longer, like this is not gonna be forever. It's just what it is for now. And then eventually I had a moment, like especially toward the end, I was like, damn, you know, I need to get to this finish line, but yet I got bills to pay. And it just clicked like, okay, I got a couple of scholarships, not scholarships, I'm sorry. Well, well,
Like
yeah,
grants
scholarships.
and
I had a couple
stuff.
of scholarships
No
and grants.
scholarship? Oh, okay.
So it hit me. It was like, wait a minute, like if you think about a scholarship, some of these scholarships, they just want you like to write a paper, like write a paper, and the paper is usually about yourself, like why you deserve
True.
it, or why what you could do with it, and how it can benefit you, so, something like that. So it's like if somebody were to offer me right now $500 to write a paper, you do it, right? Like if somebody told you, hey, Kwame, can you do me a favor? I'll give
Oh,
you
yeah.
$200 if you write me a paper right now. You do it, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
so it hit me. I was like,
Usually.
why don't I just do more of those? Like, why don't I just try to bring more money in that way? And that way I could potentially bring enough to cover my costs, my expenses, and then that way I could focus on school. So I did that. And this was towards the end of the program, which I probably should have done like towards the
Yeah, the
beginning.
whole time, huh?
You know what I mean?
Wow.
So I was just in that position where I had to switch. Something had to change in order for me to be successful. So I did that. I started hitting up all these like different places where I could find scholarships and grants. And even some of the counselors were like, I don't know, like I already gave you all the ones, but just keep digging, like you might find some other ones. And I was
Mhm.
able to the point where I was able to quit my job towards the end. And
Wow.
everybody freaked out, like, you're gonna do
That's
what? Like,
insane.
yeah, because I was the guy who took care of things. So me not working scared a
Mhm.
lot of people. Like, how are you gonna not
Ah.
work? And I was like, don't worry about it. I got a plan. Like I got to figure it out. And in fact, I got a budget. Like as long as I spend this much per week, I'll be okay. And that amount was actually more than when I was working. So
Nice.
so working, I was gonna make less, and then my time was gonna be spent there. So I was like, I got to that point where it was like, I called my job and put my 2 weeks in, and they were happy for me, and they were like, you want to come back, on good terms, you come back, but we don't want you back. Like, and we mean that in a good way. Go and do what you're gonna do. We don't want you coming back. Like, good luck with everything. So I was like, thanks. So in the back of my mind, I had that safety net, but not really. Like I didn't want to go back as much as the job was cool. It was a cool job. But yeah, that was my switch. Like I switched to being
Man.
focused on this, and so not
Mm-hmm.
only did I have all the books that I needed, they were all paid for. Uh, all my classes, my lunch was taken care of. Like I had money for that, and I had a little bit in my pocket left over for the rest of whatever I needed. And all I did at towards the end was focus on school, and money was not an option no more because I took that shift, that mind shift, and that just changed the game. You know, like it was just towards the end, it was 100% focus on just school, and I think that was the game changer right there. So my biggest
Yeah,
advice is dig for scholarships and grants.
that's great.
Grants you don't pay back, scholarships you don't pay back. And some of these grants, they don't even require you to submit anything other than just some information and proof that you're going to school. And you know what I mean? Like, so that was
It's like, yeah, I think if that's a if you can get anything out of this podcast, I think that was like that was it, man. Apply for those scholarships, grants. How many scholarships would you say that you applied for? Like a ballpark number? Like how many?
so this was back in '08, '09,
Hmm.
probably like you know what I mean? So at that time
Hmm.
there there wasn't that many, at least that I knew of
Uh,
at that time. And
okay.
internet wasn't really a thing yet. Like Google was just
Hmm.
coming around. Like we didn't talk about Google.
Hmm.
But I had enough, you know, like I had enough. And my flaw is that I'm not greedy either. So once I had enough and I had some money in my pocket, I was like, I'm good. I'm good. So I had a couple. I had a couple of grants and scholarships. What I never did was loans,
Hmm.
and I don't recommend go to loans right away because I know
Hmm.
some people that did. Oh,
Yeah,
they
for sure.
I got this loan, and they're gonna give me this big amount, and I don't have to pay it back till I'm done.
Whenever.
And to
Yeah.
me, like red flags are going up. Like that
Hmm.
don't sound like good for you. Like that sounds like good for the whoever's loaning you that money. What are the
For
interest
sure.
rates and what are you signing? You know, so I never
Hmm.
did loans. Um,
Nice.
but yeah, my focus was on grants and scholarships. So
Dang. So
I,
you did good on the scholarships, man. Like I honestly, dang, man. I don't know if I even applied for scholarships at all. But
because nobody pushes you to it. Like
no,
nobody pushed me
no,
that way.
no.
Like nobody, the counselors, nobody. Like I'm not saying they didn't do a good job. They did because obviously I went to school, but that never crossed their minds either. Like basically, in high school, I remember they gave us a list and said, "This is it, and here's some scholarships. You either get them or you don't."
Hmm.
And then like it wasn't until later where I was like, "That can't just be it. Like there's got to be more." And at that time, there was no
Oh
like
man.
internet. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Now there is. So I'm
There's
sure it's
so many scholarships.
oh
Like
for
my
sure.
wife's in school and she was showing me and I was like, man, you should apply for those. And then like she was applying. There's like literally like endless,
Yeah,
endless. You can go all day. So I never really known anyone to get like scholarship. Well, big scholarships. Like I have some athletes in my family, but
yeah,
not like that. I mean, I don't really know, too many people. Nobody really talk or they don't talk about it, or maybe I just don't ask.
yeah,
And that's good, man. I'm like, if anyone's hearing that, like you're going to school, start applying for scholarships. I think there was even a Taco Bell one, like we were looking
sure,
at.
yeah,
It was like Live Más or something like that.
yes,
So, and they all have little requirements or whatever, but yeah, you just like you said, like you tell your story a lot of times why you need it, what you'll do for it. It's not like you don't have to get super crazy with it either. I
yeah,
don't think to do a lot of research, and you can literally type it up and just talk about yourself. They just want to help people a lot of times. A lot of like law firms I saw. But yeah, that's awesome, man. Like that's so cool that you did that because
yeah,
that truly helps, man. Like some of them I saw were like anywhere from $500,
yes,
5,000, 9,000. I was like, that's crazy. I'm just like, what do you have to lose? Just
Yeah.
go on there and type it up.
Yeah.
Um,
And some of these were
but
like crazy easy. Like it was so easy.
oh
Like
yeah,
when the money hit the bank account, it was like I felt like
you
weird. Like
did that.
yeah, like what?
Wow,
Like that happened?
that's
Like
cool, man. Man, I wish I thought
and
of
of course
that.
I used the money for school. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, good. See,
You
some
know what I mean?
people
Like
might
I used
spend
the
it, buy a
money.
car, whatever. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the
and
right thing to do.
there was just some left over though. Like I was able to budget
Oh,
because
you
you know
still
we
had some
got
walking around
gas.
money.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So those kind of things, like the miscellaneous things, the things that you don't think about that you need money for, but it was all taken care of. And you know, the fact that we have these platforms available, I know there's people that want to help. There's a lot of companies out there that want to give this money out, and sometimes they don't know who to give it
Mhm.
to, or they don't have enough applicants. So like they could always reach out to us, and we could help them out there. We could connect them with some of these students that need this money and need these funds, and
Mhm.
they'll make great technologists one day. It's just they have their financial issues. So just you got to think outside the box sometimes. And that was probably the only time of my life where I didn't work. And I'm not. I
Wow.
started working like legit working at like 12, like a job paycheck at
Mhm.
12. But I worked
Wow.
way before that, like different jobs, like cutting grass and doing what I had to do for money. So like since like elementary, like like as far back as I can remember, like I've always found ways to bring
Always
my own
working.
income. Yeah, it was just what I do, and that was the only time in my life where I didn't work, which school was my work. Like school was my thing. And you think about
Yeah,
externship and stuff like that, you're working for free,
that's true.
and to a lot of people that scares them. Like I can't do 2 years and not get paid. Well, the thing is,
Yeah.
you're not getting paid, but you're learning. Like you're gaining value. You have your foot in the door. You create opportunities. So like for me, externship was like I need to get there. I need to just get in there. I want to get on those machines. I want to get into these hospitals, and externship was that opportunity. So um, any chance that I could be there, and not work, I wanted to be in there. I wanted to be in those sites. I wanted to be in those modalities, learning because
Yeah.
that was going to get me, the experience once, I was going to finish. So yeah,
Yeah,
I think,
that's pretty
yeah,
much your chance right there, right? Clinicals is your chance to prove yourself and get all the skills. I mean, that's like that's the showtime right there, man.
sure.
That was like once I got there, I was like, all right, now's my this is it. Like you basically lived your whole life up to this point and you put all your worth ethic that you learned and all your skills, people skills, everything is just like you give it all you got, you know?
Yes,
And
sir.
I knew once I got in there, yeah, like I was like, all right, I'm gonna freaking ain't no way I'm not gonna do this, dude. I'm gonna learn everything. It's all technology stuff at that point too. So I was like, oh well, I've always tried to keep up with technology since I was a kid. You know, like as soon as we got a computer and internet, you know, I was figuring out how to do everything I could on there. You know, it's like, oh, this I'm just telling you guys some of my background when I was a kid. And I knew I was like gonna have a job doing something with technology. I knew that was me. Um, but yeah, man. So like when I got in, the whole interface of the computer, that kind of stuff, it didn't scare me, man. Like about like, oh, you know, scan this, scan that, and then like the machine, the equipment, I was like, it was I almost compare it to like playing a new video game on a new system, dude. Like it was just that integrated, real life people, this and that. But I feel like if you can learn how to play Halo or you're good at Super Mario, this and that. You could if you can learn all the cheat codes on Grand Theft Auto and or doing all this stuff. If you can learn all that stuff and you apply all that our energy, you know, to learning something else, MRI, it's like you're right there. And then I got a lot of my work ethic growing up playing sports too. Like I played football, basketball, and I was very dedicated to that. I would practice after school, I'd play during school, and learned how to work as a team. And so it's like, and then I got my first job when I was like 15, working at a grocery store part time. Started learning how to talk to people. And I was always a good worker, man. I always, like, whatever I did, I was always going full throttle on it. And that was just me, man. I just, you run till you drop too, you know what I mean? So you work till you drop. And that was always my mentality. Like, you're gonna have to, like, drag me off the field, right? But but yeah, man. A lot of good information on this podcast. Um, I don't know, Jason. Do you feel like you got to add anything else to this, man? Like, anyone else that's like on the fence about joining radiology?
Yeah. So if you the sooner you start the better, right? Like there's a lot of advantages to starting early, but you know, this is a field that you have to be mature, though. You're coming out and you're helping people. You're working with other healthcare professionals. So um, I started off young, and at that time I was like considered very young. Like it wasn't very off. Like it wasn't normal to see people my age in the healthcare field. Like
Mm-hmm.
you had to kind of like earn the respect. Because people could look at you and just assume that you don't know as much because you're younger. But now it's changing a little bit. Like now, healthcare professionals are younger. Doctors are younger. So it's a little different, but it still requires a you know a type of maturity. So just be ready to come into a field that you know very mature. Like, and I'm not saying you can't have fun. It's a very fun field, but you are going to be working with professionals and you do have responsibilities. So just be ready for that. Like it's a great field, lots of learning. You could have fun, but you gotta still come through and with the patient care and your skill set. Um, so be ready to come into that environment, right? Um, if you're young, start doing some research, right? Or if you're thinking of going into the program, start doing some research like anatomy, things like that. Who's hiring around your area, what types of jobs you could get. So there's quite a few. Um, but where do you want to be? That's always easier when you have a target. It's always easier. Like if you know for a fact you want to go to hospitals, so then start like you know finding out how to get into those hospitals or what it's like to work in those hospitals. If you're more like an imaging center, okay, so then focus on that, right? Like, what's that environment like? You know, so and then the other thing too is just make sure that you're ready. Like, whatever you got going on in life, don't just jump in because you're trying to finish right away. Like, jump in when you're ready. Like, you got things lined up. Everything's not gonna be perfect, but when you're ready, like mentally, you're ready for learning, for commitment, to make sacrifices, you know, um, to make those life changes. Like you said, go to work, get home, study. Because in order to be successful, you got to study. I mean, there's no way around it. Like, what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And I don't mean like just watching a video and I'm good. No, I mean like read your books, do your assignments, practice, taking tests, because that's a skill too. Test taking is a skill. Your math, focus on the math, on the physics, because in order to be a technologist, you have to pass an exam. Like you have to get into the routine of that pressure of answering questions and you know picking the right answer. Thinking outside the box, getting familiar with the terminology. So um, watching a video or just watching a video is not everything. Like that's part of it. That's a great tool, but reading your books is another great tool. Your assignments, your quizzes. So like, just be ready. Come in when you're ready to commit and take all that, and you should be successful from there. So it's a great field, um,
Mm-hmm.
and hopefully at the end it's worth it. It's worth it. So
Yeah, for sure. Um, one more last question, and then we will wrap it up. What about advice for someone older coming in as a career change? Maybe they are late 30s, 40s, stuff like that. What's your advice to them? Because that, they may feel a certain way, like, oh, I'm old, I'm 40 years old. What are people going to think of me? Will they hire me? What have you seen? Have you seen texts like that? And what's your advice for somebody that age?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So when I joined the program, I was like one of the youngest ones. Like everybody else was in their 30s, 40s, 50s.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I was the one that was different because that's what it was like at a certain time. Like people went into these fields at those ages at one point. So they looked at me like sometimes like, oh, you're a young one, you got a lot to learn, right? So if you're one of those older ones, and I'm in my 30s, so that's not that old, but you're gonna see
Hmm.
people that are younger than you, but don't let that phase you, because that wasn't the normal at one point. The normal was you come into these careers at those ages, so don't let that phase you. Like don't let other people's ages bother you. And I've seen some people who let their age bother them, like they think that's a disadvantage, and it's not. Like whatever advantages you have, you need to use them, whatever that is, whatever age you come in with. And sometimes that means, you can't slack off in certain areas because there are younger and hungrier. So if you're older but hungrier, you're going to be successful because it's all about the hunger, the grit, the mindset. So
Hmm.
there's facilities that they don't want to deal with immaturity. They'd rather have somebody that's mature. And that doesn't mean you're older, you're mature, but like I said, like whatever tool you have, use it. Right. So if you think I'm older, I'm more mature, then use that tool. Right. I have more life experiences, okay, well then use that tool. But do those life experiences relate to the field? And if not, then focus on the ones that do, right? Um, so really just come in at the age when you're ready. And I've seen that. I've seen people change careers. They did a certain thing for lots of years. They have a lot of experience. They just want to do something different, and they come out successful because again they want it. And they're not the youngest, but because they want it, they're enjoying it more, and now they have that. I'm in it, and they're enjoying it. So age is not the biggest factor. It's just coming in when you're ready, and coming in with you know what makes you different, and standing out from the I'm gonna say competition. Like your classmates, you gotta think of it sometimes like it's still competition. Y'all could be cool and everything like that. That's great. Like
Hmm.
networking's important, but at the same time too, like you gotta still stand out a little bit. You know what I mean? Like do enough to stand out, get that opportunity, and you can still be friends because hey, guess what? We're hiring. I'm gonna call up my friends, and get them in. You know, it's not like you're leaving them behind or anything like that. It's like so any age is okay. Now, if you're maybe on the older end and physically you can't do certain things, that's what I'm gonna say. Maybe consider something else because our job is demanding mentally and physically, in the sense that we are transporting patients sometimes, a lot of times actually. We are positioning patients, and some of these patients can't do that themselves, so we got to do that. So just kind of be honest with yourself. Is this something you could do physically?
True.
Um, because there are ergonomics to this, there are skill sets to this. You can injure yourself. So even these younger bucks that are coming in, they're coming in, and if you injure your back, that one injury can affect you in the long run. You know what I mean? So if you already got some back injuries, for example, and you come in, um, now you could just kind of add to that. If
Hmm.
those problems were already there, those problems already existed. So just kind of keep that in mind too. Like our job is pretty demanding physically. In some places, it's more than others. So if you know you're older and you have some, I don't know, let's just say physical problems, um, then maybe find something that where you're not gonna be as physical, and you can still have a good career. It's just you're gonna have to just focus on maybe some opportunities that don't require as much physical. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, that I agree, man. That's one thing. Yeah, if you already have back problems, and you know you, it's almost like it's like we're not physically lifting weights, but we are moving around. It feels like weights sometimes. You're moving around patients.
Yeah,
You know, I feel like I'm moving around at least 40, 50 pounds. You know, trying to move someone's life. It feels like that
yeah,
constantly lifting equipment. So yeah,
mhm,
you do have to be in pretty good shape. But there's a lot of like older people that are in shape
yeah,
and maybe they still exercise, lift weights, and they feel pretty good. But yeah, you do got to be physically strong. I mean, yeah, you definitely got to be moving people around. You're not just sitting there, and you can't expect someone to be doing all that. So that is something to consider. And you gotta think long run too. I mean, if you
yeah,
get in later, you're already hurt. What's gonna happen? You're in 5 more years at the end of your career. How much is that gonna hurt you?
yeah,
And I mean, yeah, I wouldn't feel bad about it, and just you got to find something that works for you. Maybe it isn't for you at that point. But yeah, it's like why get into something if you can't physically do it, and why put your
yeah,
body through that if because I do see some older techs already slowing down. They end up going from X-ray to like mammogram, right? I see that a lot too. Like some of the older X-ray tech women. I know this one lady. She was small, man. She was under 5 feet for sure. She
mhm,
was mid 50s, and she was an MRI, and we got to move coils around. And yeah, it was getting to her, man. And then she went and ended up doing mammogram, and she's doing good with mammogram. She doesn't really have to lift in mammo. So
yeah,
there's other things out there. But I do see X-ray can get very very busy at an outpatient. You also got to be quick, moving around, thinking quick, making decisions. Um, so you got to be ready to work. Pretty much work and professional. And if you get hired and you come in with and you're not being professional, they're gonna push you out quick. I've never seen someone that lasted that came in and they were joking around all the time, being goofy and just inappropriate. Those people do not last. They will not last. And they can do all that. If they're not putting in the work, they can be the funniest person, the coolest person, the nicest person. But if they're not putting in work and getting these patients in and out, goodbye, man. Those places will get you out of there. So, like you said to the younger people, that's my advice. Come in, expect to, just mature. We're gonna have to mature pretty quick, and patients are giving us all their personal information, and it's a serious matter. You can't just you got to take them serious. It's not funny. All the terms we use, and we're talking about different body parts. Can't be in there laughing about it, thinking it's a joke, or you can't take it too serious where you get all caught up in your emotions and you're crying half the day and you feel depressed or something. I mean, you got to understand that too. People getting sick, people getting hurt. Like I've seen younger techs come in their early 20s and they're like, oh, I can't believe this. Oh, how could we do this? This is terrible that this happened to this person. And they're just the whole day like that, just stunned. And you're just like, well, you're going to have to learn. This is part of life and this is part of our job. Not everybody's going to come in happy and smiling. So, but yeah, man, I am happy that you got on. We're definitely gonna keep working, coming out with a lot more podcasts this year, man. So you guys need to like and subscribe to the MRI Man Podcast, to my YouTube channel. Check me out on Instagram, the real MRI Man. Same thing on TikTok, Spotify, Apple. And as far as Jason, yeah, man, tell them where they could find you.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Follow Kwame MRI Man. A lot of great content. I'm on Instagram at your X-ray tech, Spotify, Apple Podcast with the YXT Podcast. I got some episodes there with Kwame too. Um, the website, yourxraytech.com. Visit
Oh, that's
the
right.
website. There's a lot of merch on there designed for
Mm-hmm.
healthcare professionals. So you'll also find some study material, um, some exclusive content on there.
Oh,
I mean, this
nice.
is great content here, but if you want more in
Mm-hmm.
depth or more like personalized content, then the website for sure. I do have some membership options in there, promo codes, things like that.
Nice.
So, and more stuff coming in the future. Me and Kwame are going to be working on a lot of things. Um, so appreciate the time, and we'll do this again soon.
Yeah, for sure. All right, everybody. Peace out. Also, if you got any questions or comments, leave it down below and we will definitely get back to you guys on that and answer it. Anyway, MRI Man, we out of here. Peace.